Alright, can you guys hear me? Let me know in the chat. I hope you can hear me. Welcome to dboTV, episode 2, tentatively titled Cruise Control. Got a pretty good show lined up for you this week. Gonna cover Destiny Drawing Board and Red Death, new weapon. New video called about the Fallen statue at Gamescom. And then we got a little bit of talk about the Fallen alphabet and some translating of that, as well as maybe something to give away or something else. I don't know. Let's get started, shall we? Alright, well, as I said, welcome to dboTV, episode 2. Hopefully a little more organized than last time. It's still kind of flying by the seat of my pants, but I'm a fan of that phrase, so keep things fast and loose. Anyway, if I want to do the same thing I did last week, with the Twitter shoutouts. This time I'll actually remember to do it during the show instead of afterwards. So if you follow DBO tweets, it's at DBO_tweets, and if you retweet the announcement about the show, I'll give you a shout out at the end of the show. Just another shameless plug. I don't know, it works, right? But anyway, I wanted to start actually just talking about what I did this weekend first before we dive into the Destiny stuff. This weekend I went up to Monster Mania. It's a horror movie convention up in Philadelphia. One of my friends is a really big horror movie nut, and he wanted to go, so I went with him. And I saw the Batmobile, and by Batmobile I mean the Adam West old school 1966 Batmobile. It might have been a replica, I don't know, it looked pretty good. I saw a really awesome DeLorean replica. And I met Danny Glover. That was really cool. I asked him how many people do the angel flapping gesture every time they meet him, and he said a lot of people do. An entire student body convention did the angels in the outfield arms flapping. But Danny Glover was really nice. I also got to sit in on a Q&A panel with Malcolm McDowell, who personally to me I always think of as Alex from A Clockwork Orange, but he's been in a ton of stuff, Heroes, tons of video games. I asked him how he prepares for voice acting compared to on-screen acting, and he said he doesn't really prepare at all. He gets up in the morning, brushes his teeth, and goes and reads the lines. So if you ever get the chance to go to a panel or Q&A hosted by Malcolm McDowell, you should definitely go, because he is a really good public speaker. He didn't really have anybody interviewing him. He was just taking questions from the audience. And it was really cool. He was a really nice guy. He talked about in Fallout 3 when he recorded his lines, he didn't know that he was actually a robot, that the character was a robot, and somebody told him that I think after the game came out, so he didn't even realize. And he also mentioned that he recently recorded some lines for an Elder Scrolls game. I'm pretty sure it's Elder Scrolls. He kept saying Scrolls. I assume he meant Elder Scrolls. He said that once. So that was kind of cool. I also here let me try and pull this up and see if I can do this. I got my picture taken with Gary Busey. So yeah, that was interesting. Really didn't talk to him much. He just kind of grunted when I sat down and got the picture with him. But that was interesting. He's kind of a interesting character. Anyway, enough about my boring to you weekend. Let's dive into some Destiny news. Let's see if I can get this working. There we go. Wow, that is a lot bigger than it was last week. Alright. So, first item was the community focus of the week was Invisible Machine, who's the artist. I actually talked about a lot last week, so I'm just kind of gloss over this. But the community focus article did have this poster that we hadn't seen before from Invisible Machine, which is pretty cool. I like how the text at the bottom, where the cast usually goes on a poster, it has like 4 people there: Jason Jones, Joseph Staten, Eric Osborne, and David Daig. I guess you 4 guys have a lot of work to do if you're gonna make Destiny yourself. But anyway, so community focus for Invisible Machine. That's pretty cool. Deej asked him a couple questions about how he got into this stuff. Apparently, he's all completely self-taught. This artist, which is really pretty cool. I think his preferred program of choice is Photoshop, no surprise. And I think he also mentioned that he scans a lot of paper and cloth to get interesting textures to put into his pieces. But yeah, so that piece was kind of cool. Let's see, what else did we have? Who was next? Where? I'm lost on my update. There we go. Breaking In. That was next. All right. So other article come in was Breaking In. This week it was David Helsby, who is an animator at Bungie. He's part of a team of animators, and so Deej interviewed him. It was it was pretty interesting. He had some cool things to say. One of which was, my primary job is creating first-person animation for Destiny. If you can shoot it, fire it, reload it, throw it, or cast it, I've got my hands in it. So basically any action that you do, he's got something to do with the animation that goes along with that. So that's kind of cool. He makes a very visual part of the game that you'll see. So to pull another quote from David here, this one's probably kind of hard for you to read. Let me make that bigger. He says, in real life, if you're going to throw a punch, you might have some type of anticipation or wind-up before you throw that uppercut or right cross. So here he's talking about how difficult it is to make a melee animation. He says, in a first-person shooter, once the player hits the button, that punch needs to be flying towards its target immediately. Removing that anticipation is the tricky part, because that anticipation is what tells your brain what's going to happen next. Solving visual problems like this is the hardest and most fun part of my job. I really like this quote because if you've ever looked at some of the Bungie publications that they've put out, I know they had them at the old Bungie.net site. Maybe not so much at the new one. I'm not sure if they have a page up for that. But they used to have all these PowerPoint presentations that you could go and download. And one of them was talking about animations. It was this huge file because it came with a lot of videos and stuff. Talking about the different walking animations, running animations, and how you switch from one to the other. And how you want to make it look realistic, but you also want to make it feel realistic, and that's probably more important to the gameplay. So David here talking about melee animations and how they can be pretty difficult to make. You know, I totally believe him because, like he says, you want that melee to happen instantly, but you also want it to look realistic when you go into the theater later on and watch it. So that was kind of cool. I think I have one more bit from his Breaking In article, and this was a day in the life of David Helsby, and I think he might be exaggerating a little bit here because he says he starts the day with traveling to the studio on the back of a unicorn. I don't know what kind of transportation they normally have in Bellevue, but maybe the unicorn is a new thing. Have breakfast one-on-one with Jason Jones. That's pretty awesome. With a studio of about 400 people, getting to have breakfast with Jason Jones every day is quite a treat. Drink magical elixir to erase mental and physical stamina. I'm assuming this is probably another Bungie reference to beer and or 5-hour energy. Probably coffee. That's probably what he's actually talking about. Part 4 of his day is take wacky reference video of myself for new animations. Now, this is the first one I actually believe. Unless the magical elixir really is just coffee. And I guess I believe that too. But taking reference videos of himself to make new animations, that's got to be fun and probably make you a little bit self-conscious too. I don't know. But step 5, animate. Get those animations in the game, and then iterate, and then celebrate. Go home and sleep. That sounds like a pretty busy day. The last half sounds a little less exciting than the first half, but the last half is probably also real. So it was a pretty interesting article. I mean, if you want to read more about it, go to Bungie.net. It's still linked from the Bungie blog. Maybe not right from the front page. Of course, you can also go to Destiny.Bungie.Org and plug our own site for a minute, and you can just search Breaking In, and that'll pull up pretty much all of the Breaking Ins that have come out since we launched the site back in February. Launched our site back in February. So anyway, aside from the Breaking In, we also got a new feature at Bungie.net, which was pretty cool. It was called Destiny Drawing Board. This is something Deej says is going to become a regular series, a recurring thing. So that's pretty exciting, especially if it's as cool as this. And by this, I mean the Red Death. I mean, that thing's pretty freaking cool. Let me blow that up for you. So you can see it is an exotic pulse rifle. So this is a weapon that the Guardians will use, which Guardians being me, you, and all of our friends playing this game. It's bloody. Look at it. I mean, the thing is covered in blood from that giant bayonet to about halfway down the gun. It's got 9 little skulls on it. I guess whoever had this gun got 9 kills. I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know what kind of KD that gives them, or whether or not that's their own blood at the front. But that's pretty grisly there. You know, I remember the leaked Destiny contract, Activision contract from, I guess has been like 3 years ago when it was signed, said that they were targeting a T rating, you know, T for teen. But if you watch some of the videos that they've put out lately, like the fallen statue video I'm going to talk about later, beforehand the little ESRB rating thing says that this video is for a game that is targeting an M rating. So I wonder if that's changed, or if that's just the ESRB making assumptions. I mean, it's Bungie putting the videos together, so you'd assume they'd know what kind of rating they're targeting. So looking at this bloody, grisly weapon makes me think that maybe they've bumped that up to mature since signing that contract. Now, I mean, that contract is 3 years old, and from what I've heard, it is not completely changed, but a lot of it has undergone revision, so to speak, so that you can't really trust everything from that. I mean, for one thing, the contract said that they were targeting a fall 2013 release, and I don't think they're going to make that. But yeah, so that's the first thing that this makes me think of. Makes me think Destiny is going to be an M-rated game. with weapons called Red Death and Blood and all that kind of stuff. But there's a couple other things that this gun makes me think of. So it's called an exotic pulse rifle. So exotic, I guess, refers to how rare this gun is going to be, as opposed to a common pulse rifle, I guess. This whole concept of these guns having their own names and unique looks sounds like, they're really putting a lot of effort into each individual guns, so that the more effort they put into these, the rarer they're going to be. So you're probably not going to find Red Death, dropped all over the place. But the term pulse rifle is interesting. Now, pulse rifle to me makes me think of aliens. But we know Bungie is not a fan of aliens at all. They would never, pull any kind of designs from that movie or references to it. Yeah, pulse rifle. That's interesting. They don't just call it an assault rifle. I guess I wonder if that gives a clue about what kind of rounds it's firing. Is it firing some energy-based rounds, or are we still talking like metal bullet type things? But anyway, so Tom Doyle, one of the art leads at Bungie, says this is our heavy metal gun, and he capitalizes heavy metal, and in doing so, he's referencing, let's see, this movie called Heavy Metal, which is an animated movie from, I can't remember what year that came out, before my time certainly, but I've watched it. It's an interesting movie. If you've never watched it, don't Google it at work or anything. It's there's a lot of, for a cartoon, there's a lot of tits. But anyway, so Heavy Metal, it's got a very industrial sort of biker sort of feel to it, and you definitely get that from Red Death here. It's hard to see from this angle, but it's got those spikes sort of on the front half of it there. Got these nice biker, skull and crossbones all over it, and of course that giant bayonet. That thing is crazy. It makes me wonder if the melee animations will use that bayonet, or if that's just a cosmetic thing. We'll have to ask David Helsby if he's making custom melee animations for this. But so in addition to that shot, we've got this other one, and this was a smaller shot, and this is earlier. So this shot is an actual render, and I believe who rendered this? It was Matt Litchie, I think, did the 3D model for this. So this is an actual render, but this next shot, this is just concept art. And if you look at it, there are a couple things to get out of this. Is one, you see these, where am I at? Here. Oh wow, red's probably not the best color for my pencil. Let me fix that. Let's go blue. Yeah, alright. So right here are where the spikes are, whereas in the actual render they end up over here. The knife itself looks different. This one's like really like straight and sharp looking, whereas if you go back one shot, this one's kind of serrated and a little more, I don't know, savage. But anyway, coming back to this, you also see some concept art for the HUD, a little ammo counter there, and it's got skull and crossbones and more skulls and more bones. So whoever was using this gun really dug bones. And if you look, it's hard to tell at this resolution, but if you look at that, that skull actually looks like a fallen, I'd say a fallen vandal, which is kind of funny. It reminds me of going back to Halo. The legendary difficulty emblem was an elite skull. So here we've got the fallen skull. Another thing to look at here is you've got this alternate paint job in the corner. And that's actually something I want to talk about. In the article, let me see if I can get to this quote. Let me do this. Get rid of that. All right. So in the article, this Destiny drawing board article, they say this bloody piece of iron will not be given; it will be found. Exotics are the legendary weapons of yesterday, handcrafted by our ancestors and left strewn about the system. So this sort of gives us a little bit of story clue as to where we're getting the weapons we're using. You know, at least in the case of Red Death here, this isn't a weapon that the Guardians are making themselves, or that, you know, the city is providing to them. These are weapons that are left over from before the fall of humanity, left over from the Golden Age. And instead of, you know, finding this at the city, you might find this weapon, you know, lying around on Mars or on Venus or one of the other planets that humanity had reached out to before being, you know, struck back. So I think it's interesting that we'll be picking up these old weapons, you know, legendary weapons of yesterday, it says here, crafted by our ancestors. You know, you're picking up this rusty old thing off the ground and aiming it at your new enemies. That's interesting to me, you know. I wonder if all of the weapons are like that, or if that's just Red Death. But anyway, so we've got this really cool in-game shot. Of course, it says work in progress. Deej was really adamant about saying, you know, these are all work in progress shots. Everything could be changed. This entire weapon could be dropped from the game. You never know, so don't get too attached to it. And that's an important thing to keep in mind, because a lot of times when they do this kind of stuff, if it doesn't make it into the final game, people complain. You know, what happened to Space Squirrel? You know, but you look at this awesome in-game shot, and you get a much better idea of what those spikes look like. Man, those things look really nasty. I was talking before about how the knife could play into melee animations, but these spikes look like they could play into the melee animations as well. I'm not quite sure how you would have to swing the weapon to make use of those, but I'm sure we could figure out a way. Again, we'll have to bug David Helsby about this. Another thing about this is I really dig the sight here. It's pretty sci-fi looking to me, some sort of holographic thing. And if you remember, Destiny is going to have ADS, aim down sights. You know, hold the left trigger, I'm pretty sure, to aim the gun, which is kind of a first for Bungie games, at least a first in the past 10 years or so. Halo never really had that, so that's a pretty big change that I know a lot of people are anxious over, but I'm curious to see how that works out. Again, you know, you get a really good look at the HUD here and the ammo counter, and I wonder if this will do more than just count ammo. You know, if the rest of those little items there will give you some sort of information, or if this really is just a glorified ammo counter, which the Alien's pulse rifle also has. But again, here it looks like the skull here. If you get really close to the screen and look at it, it looks like a fallen Vandal, or I guess any kind of fallen, really, which is kind of cool. Only other things I can think of to get out of this image. It looks like there's a bit of, I'll circle it broadly here, but it looks like there's some sort of depth of field, kind of blurring, but, you know, just sort of out of focus element here, which is an interesting graphical component. And then the only other thing I could think of is down here, it looks like there's some text, but I can't quite make it out, and I can't quite decide whether or not that's actually text or not. If I had to guess, I'd say it says Assault 1, but I could be just completely making that up. So I don't know. Ignore that. But anyway, so we've got a couple more quotes from the article we can talk about. One was, "This is a savage bandit weapon. It provides a look into the world outside the city. This new frontier is harsh and at times cruel," Tom observes. And then after that, we've got, "This is a weapon that was taken from a fallen guardian. The new owner had it repainted and modded. The optics were even hacked with new graphics." Now, to me, this sort of hints at the possibility of, upgrading your guns. We've seen that before from the E3 demo, in terms of each gun having, or at least each exotic weapon having their own skill tree. If you recall, the Thunderlord from the E3 demo had its own skill tree. But this sentence makes me think that that's not the only way to customize your weapon. This seems to imply that you can apply a new paint job to the gun, which kind of goes along with that concept art we saw earlier of this one having a slightly different coloring to it. And this sentence also hints at being able to switch out the optics. He says the optics were even hacked with new graphics. I'm guessing that just means you can pick a different skin for the little ammo counter there. Maybe something new here, or maybe even completely switch out sort of the iron sights or whatever scope that is for something else. That'd be kind of like Call of Duty is what I always think of when I think of swapping out those things. I guess Battlefield does it as well. But that'll be interesting if another item you can find in Destiny is some new scope or iron sights or ACOG, whatever. So that's interesting. So that was Red Death, and again, Deej says that this Destiny drawing board is going to become a regular thing, and that to keep in mind. Ooh, wow! I just totally hosed that. There we go. And he said it's going to be a regular thing, and then keep in mind that all that stuff could disappear, change completely. Maybe when the game comes out, it'll be the Blue Death, and it'll have smiling, happy faces on it and shoot rainbows. But I wonder if I doubt that Destiny Drawing Board is going to be a weekly thing. But hopefully, every couple weeks at least, we'll get some new weapon, or I'd really like to see a vehicle or some enemy or something. And hopefully all that stuff makes it into the game too, so people don't complain about it. But anyway, alright, so the next thing I wanted to discuss, what did I do to my PowerPoint? There we go. Next thing I wanted to discuss was the new video that came out this past week about the making of the fallen statue. So this is something that Bungie has taken to Gamescom, which is in, I want to say Cologne, Germany, but I feel like I'm pronouncing that wrong. I thought I saw someone say that it was Köln, Germany. I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up after dboTV, of course. Yeah, Zach Dark says Köln, so I'll trust him. But anyway, so Gamescom takes place in Germany, and it is a huge gaming convention. I'm pretty excited for PAX coming up in, I don't know, a week and a half. But the Gamescom is way bigger than PAX. We're talking bigger than E3, I'm pretty sure, by a large margin. So a ton of people there, and Bungie is going, and they're taking this fallen statue with them. Which, if you haven't watched the video, you really should. This thing looks really cool, and I can't wait to see what kind of pictures come out of it. Gamescom opens tomorrow. Today there were a couple press conferences and Microsoft Showcase, whatever that was. Not a press conference, something else. But Gamescom proper starts tomorrow. It's just like E3 is, with the press conferences happening the day before. Gamescom starts tomorrow, so you'll probably see pictures of people with the fallen statue coming out. And It's pretty cool. Like I said, watch the video, and in it you'll see this lovely group of people. Now, the company, I can't remember the name of the actual company that's making the statue. It's not Bungie themselves, obviously, but they had a contingent of Bungie people out there helping them. So let's see, who was it? I think Scott Shepard is the guy in. Hold on, let me blow this up for you. So Scott Shepard is this guy, and I think he's a staff artist. And then this guy is Chris Alderson. He's a senior artist. And then my favorite person in this picture, aside from this guy being the fallen captain, is Lorraine McLeese. And I actually wanted to talk about Lorraine for a little bit. So let's see. So here's another shot. This is Lorraine McLeese, and she's standing here with a fallen statue that, if you recall, we first saw way back in February. So when Bungie was doing their very first Destiny reveal, they were actually announcing the game. This fallen statue was sort of quietly placed in the Bungie trophy case. If you've ever been to the Bungie lobby, they have this huge trophy case, a couple huge trophy cases, where they've got a bunch of memorabilia from old games and trophies, obviously. But this little statue was just put there, and I think it was a French journalist tweeted a picture of it, which got me really excited because I thought it was like this accidental leak thing, but of course it's something Bungie put out there quietly for somebody to discover. But anyway, so Lorraine is a pretty old school Bungie employee, relatively old school. I think she started at the company in 1998. I think she did some contract work before then in 97, but she officially became a Bungie employee in 1998 working on Oni, which she basically did all of the public-facing art for Oni. So if you ever saw any promo art, the game's cover, manual, and all that stuff, almost all of that stuff was done by Lorraine. Here, let me blow that up. So here's some designs for Kanoko she did, the main character in Oni. She also worked on Halo, of course. She came up with... I had a hard time just picking art that she made, but so I did a cop-out here and just picked the Pillar of Autumn. She came up with the design for it. Now, of course, I mentioned earlier that the name Pulse Rifle made me think of Aliens, and the Pillar of Autumn also, of course, makes me think of was it the Sulaco from Aliens as well. But Lorraine came up with this design, and I don't know, just countless other things from Halo. Like, she's just been an amazing artist. Probably the most iconic shot of promo art for Halo 2, Master Chief sort of in his Captain Morgan pose with dual SMGs. So this is all concept art that Lorraine made. She also made this sweet Bungie 10-year poster. If you've ever navigated around some of Bungie.net's like about pages or more obscure pages, you can usually see parts of this poster as some of the header images. Let's see, what else did Lorraine make? She made this really cool Master Chief poster. Just a ton of stuff. She's been working there since '98, just making awesome things. And of course now she's working on Destiny. So here's a shot of Lorraine, and I want to say it's Chris Alderson, looking at this big sort of poster wall that the statue building company had. I still can't remember their name. I feel bad about that. But this is all like the reference material that Bungie provided them to build the statue out of. And I want to draw attention to this shot up in the corner here. Now if you look at that, like everything else is pretty obvious what it is. You know, over here you've got, you know, the fallen captain from a couple different angles. You've got his swords. This part here took me a while to figure out what it was, but it's just the same as this, which is just a texture from the fallen captain, sort of exploded, I guess for color references or something. But anyway, going back up to the corner here, you get the scale of the different enemies in Destiny, or at least a couple of them. So here, let me blow that up. Keep saying that, blow that up. So yeah, so here's that shot. And if you look right here, right here, that looks like, you know, your standard human-sized human. Yes, enhance. Give me a hard copy. So for reference, that looks like that's your normal human being there. I'd say, I don't know, 6 feet tall. And you can also sort of see the same sort of sizing there, in sort of shadow. So that gives you sort of a vague feeling of the scale. I mean, I know we've seen these enemies in the E3 video, but yes, human-sized human. That's my new catchphrase. I know we saw these enemies in the E3 video, but it's really interesting to see them compared to one another. So I want to just go down the line and sort of talk about each one a little bit more. So to the far left there, we've got the Fallen Drag, and this paragraph is pulled from the Bungie page for Destiny. You know, you can look at the different, this like sort of sit rep Vanguard report stuff. So the Fallen Drag, it says, these relentless thieves seem driven by desperation and rage. They are crafty, but they usually give up their cover with their clattering and hissing. Most seem outfitted with some kind of shock dagger and pistol, and as far as we can gather, they seem to only have 2 arms, while the other Fallen have 4. So if I was going to compare Fallen Drags to an enemy from Halo, I think the most obvious parallel would be the Grunts. You know, these Dregs, they've got pistols, and that's about it. You know, so they're not going to be engaging you from super long range. They're not going to be doing a lot of damage. They're the smallest of the Fallen, so they'll probably take the least amount of hits to kill. And I think it's really cool to think about the story implications of them only having 2 arms instead of 4. Did they start out with 4 and then get the extra 2 cut off, you know, for being, you know, a minor class, or do these Fallen start with 2 and eventually grow 4 to move up in rank, or are they just like a almost completely different variant, you know, genetic variant of Fallen, and just never grow the extra 2 arms at all? I don't know. That's kind of interesting, but I do think it's cool that these guys have shock daggers. So that's one thing where the analogy of them to Grunts breaks apart, because Grunts never really posed much of a melee threat. You know, most of the time, if you got close enough to them, Grunts would just run away, whereas these Fallen Drags seems like they won't hesitate to try and stab you in the face with their shock dagger. So maybe slightly more formidable than Grunts, but we'll see how that plays out in the actual game. So then moving up next to them, so slightly taller, got the 4 arms now. We have the Fallen Vandal. So again, going to that description from Bungie, the truths about the Fallen chain of command are still making themselves known, but Vandals appear to hold a higher ranking than the Drags, and deadlier weapons too. They often have long-range capability, but lucky for us, their weapons take time to charge. So I like the hint of long-range capability here. I guess this might be more the sniper class, kind of like the Jackals from Halo, but it's reassuring to hear that their weapons take time to charge. So all your nightmares about the Jackal Alley from Halo games, the Halo 2 and Halo 3 Jackal snipers, especially were just terrible. And then eventually, by the time it got to Reach, they had replaced the beam rifle with the focus beam. So that sort of sounds like the same gameplay here. Is it's if they're going to be hitting you from that far away, they don't want to instant kill you, because that's always kind of frustrating. So you've got this charge up that'll let you react before you just get sniped from across the level. So anyway, so moving on from the Fallen Vandals, we have the Fallen Captain, and of course this is what the statue video is focused on. The captain is the one from the E3 demo that's crouched on that car. That's what they're building the statue of. And again, relating this to Halo, this is probably your standard elite. From the description, we have fallen run in packs led by an individual captain. There is no denying a captain's might. They are the fiercest of the fallen. There's a sense of tattered nobility to them. You can see it in the way they carry themselves. They think they're better than us. They believe that Earth belongs to them. So pretty standard stuff there. I mean, you could pretty much change the word fallen to elite, and that would probably work for Halo as well. I do think it's interesting that they say they believe that Earth belongs to them. Again, I keep bringing up interesting story tidbits, and that one's particularly interesting because why do the Fallen believe that Earth belongs to them? Were they actually here first? Do they believe that every planet belongs to them, or just Earth specifically? We've sort of gotten hints that the Fallen are kind of the main enemy in Destiny, or at least the main enemy in this first game. So it'll be interesting to see where their motivation is coming from. But if you look back, going to this scale photo up here, the Fallen Captain is not the biggest one on there. This one here with the arrow that's the Fallen Captain. So what is this big one? Well, that would be Rixus, Archon Slayer. So I guess this is a boss class of Fallen. Rixus is pretty freaking huge. I mean, if the Fallen Captain is already taller than a human, Rixus is a human and a half at least. This guy's kind of gigantic, and if you watch the E3 demo, he was pretty nasty. If the player 1 hadn't had unlimited ammo and God mode turned on, invincibility, I'm sure that boss battle would have taken much longer and provided a lot more gameplay. Of course, it's a demo, so they have to show things off and then move on. So this guy's pretty big, and the way he has a unique name, Rixus Archon Slayer, makes me think that there's not going to be very many of these giant Fallen guys running around. I imagine Rixus probably isn't the only one, but I don't know. We'll see. I wonder how giant that gun is compared to a human. I haven't really tried to puzzle it out with this scale picture, but that gun's got to be pretty freaking huge. So anyway, looking back at this photo, that cover seems to cover the 4 sizes of Fallen we've seen, and I'm pretty sure this guy up over here in the corner is also just the Fallen Captain, maybe with some different color variations or something. But we've also got these 2 guys here, and these guys are, let me see if I can do this. These guys are Cabal. And this is about the best picture we have of the Cabal right now. You could also look at some still shots from the Law of the Jungle trailer, but as far as screenshots go, this is This is the only one, to my knowledge, that we've got. So I've shrunk down the fallen captain just a little bit from the last image, just to be able to fit in these two guys. They're big, not quite as big as I was expecting, because if you look up at the picture up here, a Cabal doesn't look all that much taller than a human. I was expecting them to be more the size of Rixus, but they're not. That doesn't seem to be the case. And of course, this is all assuming that I'm interpreting this scale chart correctly. It is a split-second screen capture from the corner of a board in a video, so I could be completely wrong here. But yeah, at least these class of Cabal. Now, for all we know, the two Cabal in this picture are actually the smallest Cabal, which I think is probably the case. If you look in the background here, you can sort of see another variant, but he's bent down. It looks like he just dropped from a drop ship. But he looks a little bit different in that instead of having this nail gun looking weapon that these two guys have here, he's got this giant heavy machine gun, and his armor's a little bit different too. If you look here, his shoulder pauldron is different. Let me clear that up. So I'm pretty sure that these two guys in the front are the same type of Cabal, just that one has the shield and the other one doesn't. And I think that's the same case for this scale chart up here. They look pretty similar to each other from this blurry low-res video, and one just happens to have the shield. Anyway, we don't have a lot to talk about story-wise about the Cabal, because the Bungie page doesn't really have much on them yet. If you go there now, the only thing is this paragraph I've got at the top. It's been years since they first made their presence known at the Twilight Gap. While early reports have them centered on or around Mars, the true might of the Cabal is still wrapped in speculation. We're awaiting more reports from the Vanguard. So I guess in theory, these portions of the Destiny website are going to fill in as we get closer to release, and give us some more intel from the Vanguard, whatever that is. I'm curious as to what the Twilight Gap is. I'm sure what is it, Roland on the DBO forums could have some interesting things to say about that, being an aerospace engineer. But early reports have them centered around Mars. Well, this image definitely looks like Mars to me. But it also seems to hint that that's not their main environment, or that's not their main base. So I don't know. Maybe we'll find out that the Cabal have huge ships that they live on or something. I don't know. I'm making stuff up as I go. But anyway, so that covers pretty much everything I wanted to talk about from the Fallen Statue video. Like I said, those are all the interesting things that I could pull out that might be game related. I mean, the rest of the video pretty much talks about constructing the statue, which is really cool. You should definitely watch it. But there's not a lot to talk about there. Watch it for yourself. It's kind of neat. So anyway, if you recall, last week I started a segment that I want to do every week called Tip of the Hat. Yeah, Tip of the Hat. I still don't have a sweet graphic for it yet. I keep meaning to make a post on the forums asking for somebody to make something cool. So yeah, it's just text for now. But Tip of the Hat. So Tip of the Hat for this week, I got a couple suggestions from various people on Twitter as to who I should pick to receive the tip of the hat this week. I think somebody suggested more console. Of course, he's at Gamescom right now, so that lucky dog doesn't need anything, any boost this week at least. I'll save him for later. Somebody else suggested the Guardians of Destiny. They have a podcast called Guardian Radio, which is a pretty good suggestion, but I think I might save that for next week, just because I have my reasons. But anyway, so tip of the hat for this week, I'm going to... Hold on. I gotta put my hat on. Yeah. There we go. Much better. Can't do an actual tip of the hat without wearing a hat, right? So, tip of the hat for this week, I'm going to give to who I'm calling the Fallen Codebreakers. I was going to try and pick out one name or two names, but as things progressed, I really couldn't. It felt wrong to just pick a couple names. So a bit of explanation. So on the DBO forums, which I'm assuming most of the people in the chat from the names I'm recognizing know about the DBO forums, but for everybody watching, lurking and watching on YouTube after this, I'll sort of explain. Destiny.Bungie.Org/forum. Go there, sign up, check it out. There's a thread that was started by, I think it was Ragashingo started it? Who started it? Yeah, Ragashingo. Ragashingo started a thread, and completely unrelated to how things eventually went. He started it. The thread's called Connection Established, finally. And he started with these two images that are concept art that we've had for a while now. But Ragashingo finally put together, just made the mental connection that these two images could be connected. Because if you look, you've got these mysterious black pyramids, these onyx warships, that we really don't have any idea what they are, who they belong to. There's if you watch the GDC presentation, there was a couple hints about these mysterious black pyramids, and that they didn't really want to reveal what their significance was yet. But Ragashingo sort of made the connection that you look and there are these blue beams coming out of the bottom. Here, let me do that better. Blue beams coming out of the bottom of each spaceship here. And if you look over at this concept art on the left, you can see up in the sky there's some blue beams. And this image of the left looks, I'm going to assume it's Mars. The terrain is pretty orange, kind of red, planety. If it's not Mars, I have no idea where it would be. But anyway, so red planet, Mars, you got blue beams here, and you've got these giant black, not quite pyramid structures, but the architecture's not completely different. And Ragashingo was pointing out this banner has kind of a pyramid-y shape to it, that you could easily associate with your big old blue pyramids over here. So anyway, so that's how this thread started, but it quickly took a different turn. I think it was Pyromancy? I believe Pyromancy sort of pointed out this image, which was on a Bungie.net article on the front page, talking about how Bungie.net finally has multiple language options. If you go into your user settings on the site, you can switch to a couple different languages. And I think I might have mentioned this last week, can't remember. But Bungie has been hiring people that can speak multiple languages. It sounds like they want to do translation in-house. So this article was sort of announcing that feature is online. Deej was giving everybody a heads up that you might see people posting in the forums in a language other than English. So you've got this image here that was the banner for that article, and it says welcome, bienvenue, and welcome in all these different languages. But the last one there is not a language that I'm familiar with, or at least not a language that people outside of the Destiny community would be familiar with. So that looks like fallen text, is what I'm paraphrasing what Pyromancy said. It was, I'm sure, it was much more eloquent than what I'm saying here. But anyway, so he pointed out how interesting that was, and since that word there is probably welcome, we might be able to translate it. So Ragashingo took that and ran with it and started assigning the different shapes to letters, and eventually you can read the entire thread to see how things turned out. At one point, somebody remembered that the Fallen shirt, this was one of the E3 shirts, has that same text on it, and it might be hard to see here depending on your resolution, but behind the main white image there's a bunch of fainter symbols and stuff. They're just sort of covering the shirt, and they were able to put together almost the entire alphabet, not the whole thing, but quite a few letters, and figure out that this shirt, this is an inverted image. This one was done by Stephen Laughlin, I believe. But the shirt is covered in the names of various Bungie people. I mean, you see on the top left you've got Marty, bottom left you've got Jason Jones, David Daig is on there, that's Deej, John Stevon, that's Hal Salon, Lorraine McLeese, I mentioned her earlier, you know, her name is on there. A lot of these people seem to be artists, community people, or Jason Jones. I think Jim McQuillan, he's one of the videographers they have. Eric Osborne, that's Irk. Christine Edwards, I'm pretty sure she's something community related. I can't remember. I feel bad now because Christine's really nice. Drew Smith was really cool at E3. But anyway, so this shirt is covered in Bungie employee names, which is a pretty neat Easter egg. I mean, some people, when this thread was starting out, they thought maybe there was some sort of ARG going on or some sort of puzzle contest thing, but it turns out it was just Bungie employees wanting their names on a shirt. But I still think that's pretty awesome. So anyway, so that takes my tip of the hat for the day. Is basically anybody that participated in that thread, particularly Ragashingo and Pyromancy. Those were two of the bigger players in the thread. I know Stephen Laughlin and who was it? We had a new person register for the forums and post just because of that thread. It was XGEUA. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, but I thought that was pretty cool. It's one of those things that makes me really happy to be involved in the Bungie community, because I love that kind of stuff. You know, puzzling out those sort of things. I know I spent a lot of time trying to figure out the Destiny map. That turned out it was just some harbor from the Philippines. But I really like that kind of stuff, and it's pretty neat to see that happen on the forums. So hat tip to all of you guys for doing that, and hopefully we'll see more of the Fallen alphabet in the future. It makes me think of Futurama, the alien messages in there. That was always really cool, because when Futurama first came out, there weren't DVRs and there weren't even DVDs, so people were recording Futurama with VHS and then going back and then just trying to translate all of the alien text that was in the background. And I believe the Futurama guys had to change it every season and try and make it harder and harder, because it was getting too easy for people to translate. So that was pretty cool. Tip of the hat to you guys. That's let me think. I'm trying to think. I'm gonna skip the mail sack this week, just because there wasn't a ton of stuff in it, and I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time just reading it in front of you. There was mention of strikes. One person asked about Firefight and whether that would be in Destiny, and Deej gave this really coy response about strikes. So hopefully we'll see something from that in the future. That was about the most meaty thing from the mail sack. So yeah, no breakdown on the mail sack this week. Sorry to disappoint, but I don't know. Maybe I'll do it next week. I don't think we're gonna get a mail sack this Friday because Deej is currently at Gamescom, and I'm not sure when he gets back, but probably not in time to do a mail sack. He wasn't asking for questions yesterday, at least. So yeah, pretty busy time for Deej. You know, Gamescom this week, PAX the next. Speaking of PAX, for all you people watching, I don't know if you're going to be there, but I'm going to be there, and there's going to be a DBO meetup. In fact, right after dboTV is over, I'm going to start writing up the announcement of this. But DBO meetup is going to be on Saturday night at 7 p.m. And it's going to take place at a restaurant called Lunchbox Laboratory, which is within walking distance of PAX. It's about 0.8, 0.9 miles. This is about a 15-minute walk. So the plan is we can meet at the convention center about 6:30 and start heading towards Lunchbox Laboratory. I've got the entire rumpus room, upstairs private room rented. It's got a pool table, it's got a shuffleboard table, it's got like 5 arcade machines, and its own private bar and bartender just for us. And we've got the place from 7 to 11. And I'm expecting, I don't know, 40 of us? 40, maybe more? I don't know. Anybody's welcome. So yeah, Saturday, 7 p.m. Check the DBO front page or the forums tomorrow or sometime soon. Like I said, I'm going to type it up as soon as I'm done with this. But Lunchbox Laboratories has burgers and booze, and we'll play Cards Against Humanity, Bungie.Org against humanity, and have a good time. So anyway, let me see if I've got anything else I need to cover. I guess I should probably do a shameless plug here. If you're watching on Twitch, be sure to hit the follow button. I think it's down somewhere. Oh, my hand. It's down somewhere around there. I don't really know what it does, but it's free, so it probably can't hurt. Or at least it's free for now. It's free until I start making, you know, all those big commercial deals and get sponsorships and start, you know, charging money for all this stuff. No, that's not going to happen. But anyway, if you're watching on Twitch, hit follow. If you're watching the archive of this on YouTube, one, why didn't you watch this live on Twitch? Nah, it's okay. But be sure to hit like, hit subscribe, all of that usual shameless plug stuff. Tell people about dboTV. Hang out. You should really come read the chat. It's interesting. I briefly at one point thought about trying to like archive the chat and save it somewhere so that if you're watching later you can go and see what everybody says, but I don't want to get people in trouble because the chat seems to not have very many barriers. I'll just say that. I love you guys. But yeah, I don't want people to feel self-conscious about what they post in the chat, but it's a pretty fun time. And you should definitely watch the Twitch TV stream anyway, because after the show is when the real fun begins. But anyway, so yeah, hit like, hit subscribe, go up, copy and paste the URL into every social media site you know, post it on the wall of all your friends, print it out, take it to the tattoo parlor, get it printed, tattooed right on your forehead. Except make sure that if you get dboTV tattooed on your forehead, you do it in reverse, so that in the morning, when you look in the bathroom mirror, you can read it. Name your firstborn child dboTV. How to prove that? No, I'm joking here. dboTV is not a forehead tattoo. It's more of a lower back tattoo. But anyway, subscribe, do all that stuff. Now I think I'm going to do Twitter shout-outs before I end the show. I'm actually remembering it this time. So Twitter shout-outs. Let me pull up Twitter. Azuju, you get a shout-out. I don't think anybody else really retweeted. Wait. No, there is more. Jason Mishler, Destiny Dispatch, Paul O'Grady, he's a good friend. Oh, Zach Dark is mentioning me, but see, that's not a retweet. That doesn't count. Let's see, Isaiah Yanez, Jess, Crafting Geek. Thank you. Alright, well, not a lot of Twitter shoutouts this week. Maybe my shameless plugging has warded you off. Sorry about that. And I'm taking this hat off, too. Anyway, now that that's done, we can talk about giveaways here. Alright, so last week, I gave away a Titanfall t-shirt, and the one was Zach Dark, and I'm still working on shipping that to him. Apparently, the whole shipping to other continents thing can get kind of tricky. This week, I'm going to tell you how you can win a Destiny t-shirt. Woo, Destiny t-shirt. Alright, so, here, let me... Yeah. Alright, so instead of just giving this away on the show right now, I'm going to tell you how you can get it. And that's by going to Destiny.Bungie.Org/forum. And if you don't already have an account, make an account. Go find the dboTV thread for this week. I think it's dboTV episode 2 or something like that. And post some feedback. I want to get some feedback about this episode, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you think about my hair, what you think about my hat, what you think about the content. You know, what am I talking about? The interesting things. I really want to hear what you have to say. So if you just go post some sort of feedback, I'm not really strict on what qualifies as feedback, but anybody that posts, will put you in an Excel spreadsheet. And then I use like the random number generator, and I do things with that, and then randomly pick a winner. And you will get this sweet E3 Destiny shirt. It is an adult, is an extra large. So if you don't want an extra large shirt, I don't want your feedback. No. It's an extra large, which means anybody can wear it. It just might not look too fitting. Most anybody can wear it. I don't think Claude can wear an extra large. But anyway, so that's how you can win that. PAX is coming up, and I'm hoping to get some sweet swag from PAX to give away. Like the last two things I've given away, I got from E3. So like I need to recharge my supply of swag. Hoping to get some sort of codes, just from the random games from the show floor. I can't promise anything remotely Bungie or Destiny or even Halo related, but I'll see what I can find and give to you guys. But anyway, so that's the giveaway for this week. Like I said, go to the forums, you know, give me a piece of your mind, even if it's not positive feedback. I want all kinds of feedback here. Just try to keep the language pretty clean, you know. We're a friendly website. So I've noticed that a lot more people have been retweeting the thing. So I'll do a second round of shout-outs. I want to give a shout-out to Craig Hardgrove. Hey, buddy. Let's see. Craig and Thrusanth. Who is Thrusanth? Thrusanther. And let's see, that's Zuju. And then Colin Dosage, Master Biggie. Oh, thanks, buddy. Let's see, Anthony G. Sars, Chewbacca Waka. I love the username. That's pretty good. And Pat Bresnahan, Mr. Padraig 08. All right, thanks for the retweets, guys. I think that's enough. The Twitter shout-outs. I always find it weird doing that self-promotion kind of stuff. I don't want it to appear fake, and care more about quality of viewers, not quantity of viewers. But anyway, so that'll pretty much wrap it up for this show. DBO Game Night is, I think that's this Wednesday. I think Xenos on our forums is trying to put that together. Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific. And I think this week they're going to be playing Grand Theft Auto 4. So if you want the details on that, hit up the forums, or just pop in Grand Theft Auto 4 tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern and message XenosKB is his gamer tag. But anyway, that'll pretty much cover it. If you're watching on live now, stick around and we'll chat after the show. But other than that, I think it's time for some credits. Let's see if this works. Yay! Alright. I've gone this entire show without drinking any water. Alright, be sure to come back next week, every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern.